Hello and welcome to MindShifters Radio. I'm Tim Hayes. I'm your host for the first hour, and today is Friday, June 25th, 2021. As always, we're grateful to everyone who's joining us here today, whether you're listening live or listening through the archives, as we spend another couple of hours teaching and supporting people in using some of the most powerful, effective, efficient, and accessible tools I've ever discovered. These tools are available absolutely free through the tireless efforts of Dr. Michael and Jeanie Ryce at the website whyagain.org. If you go to that website and click on the red and white bullseye or the link in the upper left-hand corner of most pages that says Start Here, it will take you to a page where you can download and read Chapter 24 of Dr. Michael Ryce's book. His book is titled, Why Is This Happening to Me Again? And that chapter of that book contains a narrative description of the primary tool in this work. That tool is called the Reality Management Worksheet, sometimes called the Reality Management Wake-Up Sheet, and it's a tool I've been using to great effect in my life for over 17 years to improve the quality of my life and relationships, to manage my emotions, and turn any negative emotional state I experience into part of the infallible guidance system that each of us has been gifted. You can also click on a link, download the PDF of the actual tool itself, print it off, and use it as often as you'd like. You can also go to your app store and type in the 3 words HeartLand Aramaic Forgiveness. And before you're done typing the word forgiveness, you'll see the glowing heart icon. If you tap on that, it will let you download a completely free and private app that contains the Reality Management Worksheet, an abbreviated version of that worksheet process, and a copy of the Dragon Klingon game, which is a wonderful way to introduce these tools to even younger audiences. You can also download a whole host of audio files of shows just like this one where people have been stepped through that worksheet process, and those audio files can serve as a tutorial, and repetition of listening to those and applying the tool in your own life can result in you becoming very proficient at the use of this tool, and ways to have it improve your quality of life. So we encourage people to do that soon and often, and because it will improve the quality of their lives and relationships, and because it might spark questions and comments. And if that happens and you want to give us a call, our caller number is 563-999-3581. Alternatively, if you're listening through the archives and you have a question or a comment, you can email us. You can email Jeanie at JEANIE at WHYAGAIN.org. And you can email me at TJH at MindShifters-Academy.org. Also this year we've decided to work through the Course in Miracles workbook lessons, and today is the 176th day of the year. We are still in a review, and today's lesson reads, The Creator is but love, and therefore so am I. Review of lesson 161 is, Give me your blessing, Holy Son of God. And 162 is, I am as God created me. The Creator is but love, and therefore so am I. Also, we're working through Pam Grout's book, A Course in Miracles Experiment, and her lesson 176 is titled, Thank you for sharing. Now go sit in the corner. She quotes Milan Kundera as saying, When the heart speaks, the mind finds it indecent to object. Pam writes, The dude is love, and therefore so am I. Give me your blessing, my holy bro, and I am as the dude created me. My ego wants to control the show, but it has old recipes, old solutions. It's like a cerebral copy machine, Xeroxing the past, perpetuating problems. Conversely, when my life is choreographed by love, I connect to the greater dimensions of my heart. So, say thank you, ego, for your 2 cents, but my yellow highlighter is now underlining notes from the infinitely expanding universe. So, that's our lesson for today. It's a review of lessons 161 and 162. Give me your blessing, Holy Son of God, and I am as God created me. So we have 51 or 52 minutes to discuss. Any comments or questions you have? Any suggestions for topics? I am pleased to announce that we had another support group last night, and we didn't listen to or watch any videos of any so-called experts or spiritual teachers. We simply had discussion, and members do worksheets. And that's available to access absolutely free either Tuesday night or Thursday night, 6:30 to 9 p.m. Central Time. And all the information you need to join us or pass it along to somebody you think might be interested is at MindShiftersAcademy.org website. And we'd be grateful if you would either join us or pass it along to somebody you think might be interested. Tremendous amount of value comes from the sense of community and from support in using these very effective tools that, as I mentioned in the intro, I've been using for over 17 years to improve the quality of my life and my relationships. And unless you are completely satisfied with the quality of your life and your relationships, you might find it of value to sing. Most of us who teach this work, most of us who have used the tools and benefited from them, we suggest that it is highly preferable to be active in the conscious co-creative process and to be able to dismantle the negative beliefs from our previous life experiences, which, if they're left untreated or unconscious, they direct our experience. They craft our lives. They drive us to have certain emotional experiences, certain beliefs and thoughts, and then from those derive certain actions that most of the time are not productive. They're counterproductive. And if you can discover, if you're like most of us, if you can discover the negative beliefs about yourself, about your life, about your role as creator or victim, you can craft an entirely different life experience than anything you've had before. More preferable, more joyful, more constructive, and that's why we recommend these tools and support people in using them and growing in their expertise with using them. I've had a number of people over the years that marvel at how I handle certain stressful situations. And that number of people who seem to think that I have so much on the ball or I'm so special has been growing exponentially since I've been actively using these tools. And I've cited a number of examples over the years in this show when I'm reporting on reality management worksheets that I've done on myself about how in years past, 5, 10, or 15 years ago, my response would have been dramatically different. I understand that the use of these tools is making a significantly positive change in my life. And that's why I donate so much of my time, intelligence, money, and energy to teaching people, helping build awareness of and build skill in the application of these tools. Because I know if it's benefited me as much as it has, it can probably benefit anyone who chooses to pick up the tools. Sometimes people say, because we talk about how the use of the tool helps me create a different life experience. So sometimes people say, if I use these tools, I'm not going to have any problems in my life. Is that what you're telling me? And I say, no, that's not it at all. As a matter of fact, as past internet shows and discussions with people in the groups have pointed out, I've experienced a lot of things in the last 17 years that I wouldn't wish on an enemy. Very difficult situations for me, losses in a relationship, job stresses, financial stress, physical illness. I've experienced tremendous amount of things in the past 17 years that I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. What I say about the use of the tools is that my experience of life has improved dramatically with the use of these tools, even though there have been numerous life experiences that have been unpleasant, deeply challenging, etc. And I say to people on a regular basis when we discuss these things, I can't even imagine having to go through these challenging life experiences and these losses without the use of these tools. I can imagine that I would have had to give up my sense of self, my values and priorities, my preferred way to treat people lovingly and with respect if I had not had these tools, because I probably would have been overcome by the negative emotional states. I probably would have been stuck in the pattern of blaming and victimhood. And with these tools and their active use, that isn't the case. I am moving progressively in my life with practice toward that state, that goal of 100% responsibility for every emotion I experience. And if any of that sounds interesting or impossible or ridiculous to you and you want to make a comment about it, give us a call, 563-999-3581. Or maybe you've got a comment or a question about the show that we had yesterday, where even though we had some technical difficulties and interruptions, we read the piece, The Obliterated Place, on the educational materials page. And it's just a PDF. There's no need to log in and give an email or sign anything for newsletters to come flooding in your mailbox. Just click, download, and use it. The power of the tool, we had somebody last night who was commenting that she felt jealous because one of the people that did the worksheet out loud in the group had such a quick flash of insight to a younger time in his life and had such a powerful shift. And this other group member doesn't usually have that experience. And she was saying that she's feeling jealous. And I wanted to point out in the group last night, I did point out, and I will point out today, that is a relatively rare experience to have such a deep, powerful shift in insight. And yet, every time I do a worksheet, I'm basically building the foundation and or paving the way for the next time I have one of those breakthrough worksheets. So I find them all valuable, every worksheet. I find it's part of the process. And one of the ways I talk about it is that every time I pick up a worksheet and do it, I'm doing a behavior. And I'm doing a behavior that demonstrates to the fearful part of my mind that I actually want to know its contents. I actually believe enough to take an action on it that whatever is in that part of my mind is safe for me to know and would be good for me to know. Now, when I begin this process, I might have had decades of turning away from, running away from in fear, the content of my mind related to some past trauma or some bullying in school or some sense of inadequacy with failure to connect with a loved one or a parent or whatever. And I might have been for decades in my life turning away from it every time it bubbled up near the surface or got resonated. And I might have been responding to that part of my mind, the fearful part of my mind that's been labeling it as too much, too painful, too scary, too rage-inducing, etc. So when I finally reach a point in my life where I say, you know what, I want to do some inner work, I'm going to get past this, I'm going to resolve this issue, I may be talking to a fearful part of my mind that has won. If I only get a slight shift in perception or a slight shift in the intensity of the emotion, or maybe I even shift from one negative emotion to another negative emotion, or the same negative emotion that gets even more intense. Even when that happens, my willingness to do another worksheet is critical, because that's the behavior that matches my words. That's the behavior that demonstrates to the fearful part of my mind that I'm actually willing and I'm convinced that I am able to survive seeing what I've been running from, sometimes for decades. So we just have to encourage people to keep doing the tools, keep using the tools and doing the process, and avoid the trap of expecting that I'm going to get a certain result with this worksheet. Be willing, just like in any meditation, be willing to accept whatever happens when you sit down to meditate. Understand that it's completely counterproductive to sit down and meditate and then beat myself up because my thoughts don't go where I want them to, or I can't shut my thoughts off, or I can't make my mind blank, etc. Same thing with the worksheet process. I want to use the worksheet process and gratefully accept whatever the result is, even if it seems that I just went blank, even if I think my conscious logical mind or my ego says, well, this didn't work, or I didn't get anything from this, or I'm still angry. I want to engage the process, if for no other reason than to be taking an action that will demonstrate to that fearful part of my mind that I'm willing to see its content, that I understand that there is, as Guy Finley talks about, there is no such thing as bad self-knowledge, that it is not possible for me to uncover a bad fact about myself, because what I'm going to uncover in my consciousness is simply what I've already lived through. And since I've lived through it, I've survived it. And often I've done a lot more than just survive it. I've lived through it. I've thought about it. I've judged it. I've labeled it. And then I've hidden it away from myself. And that is, in my humble opinion, thoroughly handling the situation. And so any part of my mind that's fearful that says, Tim, you can't handle this, is operating from a false conclusion. You've already handled everything you've lived through. You've already survived it. You've already used coping mechanisms to get through it. And if it's not readily available for your conscious awareness, it means you're actively hiding it from yourself. So you are, no matter how anxiety-ridden you might be, no matter how fearful you might be at a conscious level, you are handling your life. You are coping with it, dealing with it, and in many cases thriving in ways your conscious logical mind or your ego might try to convince you you're not. And to get more in that active, conscious, co-creative status, we have the tools. And the more you learn how to use those tools, the more you feel this adept set of, you're feeling more adept at applying them. Our experience, most of us who use these tools on a regular basis, is the better your life will get. So our call-in number is 563-999-3581. We have 31 or 2 minutes left. This is a Friday. We have the big weekend coming, so how can we support you? What's a comment? What's a question? What would be a useful way to spend the next 25 or 30 minutes on this internet extravaganza? Area code 828, you're in the air. Who do we have?
Hi, Dr. Tim. This is Magda.
Hello, Magda. I thought that might be your number. How are you?
I'm doing very well, except for what you've just been talking about. And I need some ideas, some help, some direction. I've talked to you about this before, my dependence on sugar, especially, and food in general. One would think that I'm 340 pounds, but actually I'm rather small, and yet I still use food to distract myself when I have fear come up about not knowing how to proceed. And what I'm wondering about is, what can I do right at that moment? Instead of reaching for a cigarette or a drink or whatever, I reach for food. And I can be very much aware, I am aware that is happening, and yet I feel totally compulsive about reaching for it anyway. And I just don't know how to interrupt that behavior so that I can actually go do a worksheet instead.
Using my drug of choice when the craving hits. Or it's safe and healing for me to be consciously aware of all of the dynamics that drive my craving.
Mm-hmm. Would it be, it sounds to me like it would be important to work on the rewiring of my brain around this issue when I'm not in the mode of craving. When I'm not in that automatic response.
Yeah, that's why Michael has tools like, the word links tools and the worksheet and the targeted journaling. The idea is to do the exploration from a voluntary basis, right, before I'm so triggered that I can't see straight.
Right.
And if you think in terms of the energy system, I used to teach the EFT tapping all-day class, and on a regular basis most of those classes, I spent an afternoon segment talking about addiction. And I'd have these foods, and they're not really foods, they're these drugs of choice. Regular chips, cheesy chips, chocolate cake, dark chocolate, light chocolate, sugary sweet treat, salty treat, chips, and I would lay them out on the table after the break, the first break after lunch. So now these people have been there since like 8 or 8:30 in the morning. they've had a lunch break. They're tired of, the tall, bald guy telling them how to tap on their face and foreheads and fingertips, and they want to go home, and they just want their continuing education unit's piece of paper, and they're getting frustrated. And we ask them to come to the table and pick a piece of this substance that they're craving and just smell it, don't taste it, don't eat it, and go back to their place and wait. And then we have them rate how strongly their craving is for this substance. And then we do a few rounds of tapping where all we're focusing on is the craving sensation.
Okay.
And on a regular basis, people report anger at me because they think I've now ruined chocolate for them, or I've ruined chips, or I've ruined their favorite diet drink, Tab or whatever. Because after a few rounds of tapping, when they smell or taste that thing that they were craving, it tastes rancid, or it tastes purely like chemicals or metallic, and they have no desire for it whatsoever. And I avoid full frontal attack by some of those people by calmly reassuring them that it's going to be okay, because the next time their issues get triggered, the craving is going to come up, and if they don't do the tapping, they just go to their drug of choice, it's going to seem as wonderful as ever.
Mm-hmm.
Because the only thing that makes it seem so good is that their body-mind unit knows this substance will numb them to the pain.
Yeah.
But I've literally had people they bring their own chips, their favorite chips, and they open the bag and they smell it, and it smells so good, and they can't wait to have a bite of their chip. And we say, well, don't do that yet. Do 1 or 2 or 3 rounds of tapping, and now smell the chips and get ready to see if you want to taste it. On a number of occasions, people have reported, oh my God, this smells rancid. Where 5 minutes before it smelled like heaven, and they couldn't wait to put it in their mouth. But when they do the tapping on the craving, and they let the energy flow move through them, and they dissipate the dynamic that's creating the pain, all of a sudden their perception shifts dramatically.
Can you say that last sentence again? My brain went somewhere else.
If they are ready, if they are willing to refuse to act on the craving and do a few rounds of tapping, which basically just means letting themselves sit with the energy, let it flow through them rather than resist it, let things bubble up.
Okay.
It shifts their perception dramatically.
Okay.
And then they are able to perceive more accurately. Why do I say more accurately? Because there's nothing of nutritional substance in these salty chips that come out of a bag that were fried, weeks or months ago in some oil that, maybe has been used 18 times.
Yeah.
There is no nutritional value in the sugar-coated white flour that's in the donut that they're craving. So the accurate perception is a healthy body doesn't want that white flour sugar concoction dumped in it because it's empty calories that it's going to have to detox from. A healthy body energy system doesn't want something that was deep fried in a rancid oil and, that's got some special combination of sugar, fat, and salt to make their brains go bonkers in this craving response, in this stimulated pleasure response. So I say that they will perceive more accurately because the pain is no longer in the way, and the pain is no longer driving the perception.
Yeah, that's great. And I'm guessing that over time, if I was to utilize this tool, for instance, in the way that you've just described, that the craving would possibly stop, or I would have an automatic awareness that it is that I'm just giving into my addiction.
Yeah, well, in a sense, all of those things happen. So number one, if I train my mind to accurately perceive, oh, this is pain.
Yeah.
Right? This is this thing that's in me right now that's driving me to want to reach for my drug of choice, whether it's chocolate-covered raisins or salty chips or, a hit of vodka or whatever, is not the absence of that substance that my body is craving. It's not.
Right.
It's not. That I need joy, and this is the only way to get it. I train my mind to observe. Oh, I'm in pain. There's a tension. There's a fear. There's a frustration, and I wasn't consciously aware of it. But I am consciously aware of the craving, and because I've learned that how this system works, now I know I could either use this behavior or drug of choice to numb myself out from the pain and satisfy the craving, or I could choose to explore what is the pain. And if I choose to face the pain head on and use the tools to dismantle it, there is no desire in me for the substance, for the drug of choice. And Michael Ryce has talked about this extensively over the years, that he's worked with people who are addicts, and if they are willing to use the tools, if they are willing to proactively go into their mind-body energy system, identify their traumas and their pains and their false negative beliefs and dismantle them, their craving for the substance just falls away.
Yes, and I've experienced that. And I have forgotten that I experienced that, very conveniently forgotten. So this gives me a nice framework within which to pursue remembering and using it and restructuring my thoughts about what the signal of the demanding drug of choice is, the craving. Cool.
So that's the first thing, to rewire my brain to interpret the craving signal differently, right? And to have it alert me to the fact that, oh, I'm in pain. And often in this kind of a process, it's an unconscious pain.
Yes.
The next thing is to actively use the tools to identify and then dismantle the trauma energy that I'm carrying around, or, in the false beliefs about myself that I'm carrying around. Negative core beliefs is, they used to talk to us about it in graduate school. These are my core issues. Michael Ryce would call them my 77 times 70 worksheet issues.
Mm-hmm.
Diedrich Wolsack would call it my, core beliefs, negative beliefs about myself. And when I identify them and dismantle them, there's less of them there to get triggered. So then I'm making, fundamental changes in my mind-body energy system, in my belief system. And that's what's going to drive these things that we generate that we call perceptions. That's what drives my experience of my life. So again, as Michael Ryce, if he were doing an intensive, he would say all of the above.
All of the above, yeah.
Use all of the tools to begin to identify the ways that you're holding on to false beliefs about yourself. How do you know if they're false? They're negative. or they result in you experiencing a negative emotion. So you use the tools to identify those false beliefs about yourself, and then use those tools to dismantle the energies that were either downloaded at the time that those beliefs came to you, and or the energies that keep getting generated every time you pour mind energy into those false beliefs. And the more you dismantle that energy, the more you clean up your system, the more you get that easy, direct access to your true nature, the experience of yourself as the energy of creation expressing in form. Or as Michael Ryce would say, a true human life, right? The essence of the newborn that is in every adult has never been diminished, chipped, dented, rusted, faded, or broken in any way. It can be covered up. I can be distracted from it, but it's never left me. And it's accessible once I clear enough garbage out of the way.
Yes. Okay. Is there a number 3? Sounds like 1 and 2 are, step 1 and 2 are sufficient.
Well, it's like they say on almost every shampoo bottle, I'm told. I'm certain they still say this, although I haven't used a shampoo bottle in decades. But the shampoo bottles used to say lather, rinse, and repeat.
Yes.
And that is great spiritual training right there.
Got it. Yeah, got it. Okay, this is substantial, helpful information, Dr. Kim. Thank you.
The other thing to watch for, if there is a step 3 that just came to mind, would be watch for any tendency to beat yourself up because you're not doing it fast enough or good enough or as well as somebody else, and dismantle that false belief as well. Be gentle with yourself and dismantle the false belief that says you should be doing it better, or you should have mastered your craving for sugar already, or there's something wrong with you because these tools are so powerful and effective, but they're not working for you. Just catch those negative judgments of self and turn the tools on them as well. That would be step 3.
That's great. That's great. Okay, wow. There's a few more minutes.
So you have another question?
I do. So yesterday I was shopping. I was in a grocery store, and there was a woman picking out some vegetables, and she was staying in the same spot for quite a long time. I wasn't watching what she was doing, just that she was there quite a long time. And I needed something that was on the shelf next to what she was looking at and a bit higher up. And so I reached up to get it. And I don't know how close I got to her because I was looking at what I was going to grasp. And she turned to me and said, "I wish you wouldn't get so close to my face when you're reaching for blah, blah, blah." And I immediately apologized. I wasn't aware that I was that close. Excuse me. And I thought, okay, that's it. She was a bit rude, I thought. She could have said that in a better way. And then as I proceeded to go through my day, it kept coming back. That memory kept coming back to me. And I think the bottom line is I was a naughty girl. I did something wrong. I should have, blah, blah. Whatever that is, I should have done better. So I realized I had some work to do on this. And I knew that when I was out shopping. And when I got home, I told Chuck, "Well, I've got to do a worksheet because, well, and I was telling him what happened, and I didn't do a worksheet." So, talk about resistance.
Talking about being a naughty girl.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Well, that was a good catch. Yeah. I was very naughty. I was supposed to do some homework, and I didn't. Oh, my gosh. Well, so I don't even know how to approach that in a MindShifter or a worksheet. I'm just like, I don't know what to do. It's so much easier when I listen to other people and I can help recommend something for them.
Well, the other thing is that you might want to, do a worksheet not on you being a naughty girl, but on you judging this other person as being wrong for overreacting.
Yeah. Okay.
Because when you do that worksheet with the eye towards when in the recent or distant past have you been harsh to somebody who didn't deserve it, then you'll have some really juicy material.
I see where you're going.
Is it possible that you've ever snapped at somebody who didn't deserve it?
I doubt it very much because I am such a good girl.
There you go. And
okay,
so
she was
and
so as a loving mirror for me.
Yeah, we have this bottom line observations list that says I'll never be upset. One of them is I'll never be upset about anything anybody else ever says or does or doesn't do that I think they should, unless I'm still judging myself negatively for doing the same or similar thing. Now, the dynamic that's in that bottom line observation is exactly the same dynamic that Michael Ryce has in his codependence to interdependence worksheet. Right? If I say, my advice for this person is that she should be more gentle and kind and not overreact. Well, that's perfect advice for me. It might be good for her, but it's perfect advice for me. So if I use that with the Reality Management Worksheet, I could say, okay, what's the behavior or trait that this person is displaying? Well, she's being rude. She's, rushing to judgment, and she's judging harshly, and she's, scolding somebody who doesn't deserve it. Okay, and let's say that the word scolding resonates the strong emotion for me. Or let's say the thought about being harsh with somebody who doesn't deserve it resonates the stronger emotion for me. Whichever it is, then I take a breath and turn inside and ask myself, when in the recent or distant past have I done that, exhibited that behavior or treated somebody that way, that I'm still judging myself negatively for? Most of the time, something will come to mind. And then I can do my worksheet on that, or I can do my EFT tapping and breath work on that. And when I realize that, I was doing that, I was snapping at people, I was judging them harshly because I was completely at my wit's end, I was overwhelmed with work stress or family stress, or I was struggling with my own anxiety or whatever, then I forgive myself. In other words, I dismantle the negative beliefs about myself, what a horrible person I was, because I see it in context. I was only 12 years old. I was completely overwhelmed. I didn't have any other coping mechanisms. I learned this from my mother, whatever it is, and I have compassion for my 12-year-old self. Then when I take a breath or two and I've dismantled those negative judgments against myself, and I look at the person in my life today that I thought I was upset with, I look at them through the lens of compassion. And I think, they must be going through rough times. Bless their hearts. They need, Pierre Pradervan's Gentle Art of Blessing, loving energy sent their way. And then I have compassion. And when I've got compassion for myself at a younger age and compassion for that person, that's when I realize I've cleared some energy around that issue.
great. Perfect. Yeah, that's great. I don't think I would have ever picked up on that. Again, just being very resistant to knowing the truth. Wow. It's kind of interesting because Chuck and I did a...
Hold on a minute. Can you speak a little bit more clearly or loudly into your phone?
Let's try this. Is that better?
Well, it's still kind of soft. I've turned my volume up, but try again.
Okay, how's this?
That's enough. I can hear you. Go ahead. What were you saying?
Chuck and I recently did a responsibility communication with Michael Ryce and the entire group on the video call. And it was incredibly good for me. And it was also very hard because I thought that I knew how to do it correctly. And I made lots and lots of projections and assumptions and all kinds of things. And so I was corrected, and that's really what happened yesterday. I was corrected. Okay. Interestingly, it was very powerful for me, and I have been reluctant to do any personal work since that time. And that's at least a month, maybe even longer since that. So
since that responsibility communication video?
Yes. Did you see it?
Well, if you only did one, I saw it. If you did one after the first one, I didn't see that.
We did a follow-up, and that was 2 or 3 weeks ago. And so it wasn't an actual responsibility communication, but talking about the experience a little bit with me, and then Michael had a lot to say.
And so what you just tapped into was a lot of strong emotion around having been corrected.
Yes.
And
yes,
what
indeed.
you said was that since that responsibility communication video that you and Chuck were so gracious to gift the community, you have not been feeling capable of doing your own personal work.
Capable. Interesting word, because I haven't experienced it that way. It's more like I just don't want to. I have no interest in it. And yet, I think I should. But it would be good to do. So, capable is an interesting thought. Because that's what I've really thought about these issues.
So essentially, so change the word or the wording from capable to I haven't been able to bring myself to do it even though I think I should.
Yes. But I really think you hit on it, Dr. Tim. Capable, I think, was the right word, because I have not felt, or I have not, like I just asked you, how would I handle this thing that happened yesterday at the store? I didn't feel capable of knowing how to handle it. And something else we talked about.
Okay, so you had this. You had this belief, and this is part of what you already said. You had a belief that you were really good at this responsibility communication tool.
Yes.
And at all.
Right.
And your reaction to what you believe is being corrected is to feel incompetent to do your own work.
Mhm. Yeah,
so you might need to. You might benefit from a mind shifter that says something like, "It's safe and healing for me." And I love it when people question my judgment or what I think I know to be true.
Whoa, that's bringing up a lot of emotion. Whoa. Okay, I better write that one down. It's safe and healing for me.
And I love it when people question my judgment and what I believe to be true.
When people question my judgment.
And what I believe to be true.
About what I believe to be true. Okay, I have tears on the verge of being out on my face. Oh, yeah, I think you've got a good one there.
So keep your breath moving. And if Michael were here, he'd say that would be with the first stuff you'd write on the right side of the page, that I have tears moving. That's a good one,
Yeah.
etc.
Yeah.
So we are at the time of transitioning. So
Okay.
I will ask you to hold on a minute while we make the transition, and I'm sure Michael and Jeanie would be willing to help you keep processing. I will mute you, and you might want to press 1 on your phone again, so put your hand down, and then if you want to keep talking with Jeanie, she can see you press 1 again.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for calling, and thanks for your questions. Blessings.
Absolutely. Bless you.
I'll remind us all that we come from love. We're made of this stuff we call love. We actually are love, and everything else is false. Welcome, Jeanie Ryce.
Thank you, Dr. Tim. Excellent conversation. And, yes, we would love to keep going with that, Magda. That's awesome.
Well, have a great show and a great weekend.
Oh, you too. Thank you.